At the University of Northern Colorado, we've been providing distance learning, remote learning for quite a long time. We mailed a lot of VHS tapes back in the day to folks, moving to online instruction for the past 18 years or more. What we want to do is just share what we've learned about distance learning. So I've taught online courses at the graduate level for about 13 years. And then my last few years as more an administrative role, I've really seen some important things that you can do from the 10,000 foot view. In the course development process, what we found out are there's some really critical pieces that you can build in to make it effective for students. One is using a common course template across an entire program. So say you have a special education generalist program, get a common course template, and that allows students, as they're completing a program like a special education generalist program or visual impairment program, every course that they enter has the same visual aspect and the same tabs and buttons as they access the course. Now, there was some initial pushback when we went to some templating. Faculty really wanted to put their own stamp on things and the look and feel. But what we've heard from students is they really appreciate going into a UNC special education generalist course and they know what it's going to look like. There's a level of comfort that they feel. And what we've also found is, again, from the 10,000 foot view, there's an ability to do some branding. Students start to mention this as the reason they like these courses. There's a branding aspect, and they start talking about UNC generalist courses. It's because this template has a branding feel to it. They tell their friends, this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like when you're in one of these courses. So huge benefits to a common template. Another hidden aspect, and again, those of you that have really developed, is the development shells and the actual course shells. So most learning management systems will allow you to develop, say it's an intro to special education class. You can develop a developmental shell. And this shell just kind of runs in the background that nobody ever sees except for the instructors that have access to it. Then you have your actual shell that you're delivering the course to students. The benefits of the developmental shell are, one, decreased lead time for course updates. What that developmental shell does is it's a storage unit. As soon as you find new materials, new information, you can take it and you can put it in that development shell. When you put it in there, it's more likely the next time you offer that class, you're going to pull those new materials. So it's not about waiting a year, 2 year, 3 year rotation of when you update a course. That developmental shell allows you to take all those materials and things that you're updating and put it in those new actual course shells from semester to semester. Those developmental course shells also are a great resource for adjunct instructors. We have to access and utilize a ton of adjunct instructors in our programs, allowing them to get into a developmental course shell, look at all the materials that are available, and allowing them to do it early on before they're going to start teaching really allows them to take ownership of the course. You present the adjunct with a common template. You provide them with a development shell that has a ton of resources for that class. It's increasing the odds that that course that that adjunct delivers is spot on with what you need in terms of the course objectives, getting all the content that you need for that course. And then the course expectations and getting the course settings. Dr. Peterson's going to talk about how to set up that course and how to use some of those things, but setting up those expectations and doing that ahead of time is going to increase a couple of things that are important. Getting into your course settings, setting up accessibility features that you need ahead of time are going to help you, and they're going to serve your students as they should be served. And then you set up those expectations. So as soon as students enter the course, you've already thought through how you're going to interact with them, how you expect them to interact with the course shell that's up there that they're seeing. So then you are going to do a better job explaining and walking students through that. Now, if you can do that, you're going to get better course flow. Students are going to come in, they're going to be able to find this information more easily. Now, the issue is synchronous or asynchronous class, right? You're going to offer some that are synchronous where you have certain meeting times, some are asynchronous. Allow for the different flow between those. We want our students, day one, they come in for a synchronous class, tell them exactly when they need to meet, right? And what environments they need to be in. Being upfront with that. One thing I will say about synchronous courses, going back to accessibility, live captioning. Live captioning is tricky. So those that use live captioning often know this. They're used to the quirks of it. It can really be influenced by the equipment that you use, the microphones that you're using, the platform that you're in. So don't just think you can get into a session and use live captioning and have it be flawless. Access the cast.org website, build in UDL, Universal Design for Learning aspects. On the other side, if you are asynchronous, my only advice is just respect that students can then work whenever they want to work. Faculty sometimes have gotten upset. Well, the student keeps emailing me at 2 in the morning, at 3 in the morning. It's an asynchronous class. They can do it when they want. Set up your expectations. Let them know you can email me when you want. Here's the times I will respond. Definitely look at the Standards for Quality Online Learning, that website. Ton of great resources when you're looking at this, especially if you've got any oversight, if you're a program coordinator, a program director, or something like that. Really encourage your faculty to look at this. University-wide, many systems usually use a structured system. We follow Quality Matters at the University of Northern Colorado. Quality Matters is where you should start before you develop the courses. What we found out going back and trying to meet Quality Matters standards for courses that are already developed is a big challenge. If you really work from the Quality Matters standards and then build your course in that design, if you have your template, that common template we talked about, build that based on Quality Matters standards, it's going to be a better class, right? The students are going to come in, they're going to understand the class better. The learning objectives are going to smack them in the face. And they come in and say, okay, this is why I'm in this class. This is what I'm going to learn when I'm in this class. They're going to know how they're going to be assessed on it, the measurement tools that are in there. So they're going to know, okay, I'm going to learn this. This is how I'm going to demonstrate what I've learned. They're going to have technology that's accessible and usable for everybody. And they're going to know that there's supports for them. Students who are online should have access to the same resources or similar resources as your face-to-face students. In each course shell, there should be a link, especially graduate courses, to the library. Link to the library resources, so students don't have to leave your system to get there, especially if you're in a research type of course or a graduate course. We also encourage linking to things like counseling for students and support. So again, they don't have to leave that course to go to a website and try to find where they can get the supports they need as a student to be successful, finding quick links to financial aid, to some of those things, just so they feel comfortable. When you're in a face-to-face class, students can come a little bit early and you'll get those questions about, I'm thinking about classes next semester, or I'm thinking about, I'm struggling in this class. What's that going to mean for my program? That advising kind of comment, students really appreciate when they can still do that in an online environment. You want to be aware of privacy for the students. So if you can create different grouping, different chat opportunities for them. But again, they want to know that that instructor is still there to provide some level of advisement. We've just started a new advising center in our college. And now what we're looking to do is link within our courses, link to that advising center. So again, students immediately know I need some advising support. Boom, they have that link right in their course shell. Our Center for Enhancement of Teaching and Learning just did a student panel, and they got students right now. They got them and say, okay, tell us, now that we've moved so much to remote learning, tell us what we need to do. This is what they said. Look, UNC does a good job of online instruction because we've been doing it for a while, but they desperately want some place to hang out. They desperately want some place where they can drop into an environment and interact with their peers, interact with faculty in a less formal environment. What we found is when you're in a course shell, they just feel like it's just too formal, like they can't have some conversations. So they want to have a course hangout with a designated time where there's no agenda. People can drop in and you can have conversations, just using Google Hangouts, Bitmoji Classroom. People have set those things up. However we can do it, the students are just yearning for this opportunity to have more informal hangout time just to feel connected, right? Because the whole point of this is present them with great classes, present them with environments that they can learn, that the objectives are there, everything's accessible to them, but we need to create a community. The students want to create a community of feeling like this is where they belong. They have their identity as a UNC Bear in the generalist program. Again, that branding is right there for them. And then they want to have those conversations. If we can do this, then we've got the engaged learner. right? That's our goal today, is to get to that point where we have an engaged learner. You have a student who feels like is part of a community, that she can get a hold of you in this hangout, ask advising questions, get general feedback, allow you the opportunity to say, hey, oh, you got a brother going to UNC too? Cool. What's he, so they know you're a real person, you care about them as a student. That's where we're really going to get engagement from students.
As Corey was giving you some of the insight on how you build it, the information that I want to talk to you about is how you get them to come and how you get them to engage in the process. And really, building a community is how we're going to go about doing that. One of the keys for building a community is communication. And I can't emphasize it enough. And I'm sure you all know that communication is key in this aspect. And as we're looking at students who are transitioning from face-to-face courses or traditional courses to online courses, we have to think about where they are and where they're going. We've got some students that thrive in that face-to-face environment, and then we've got students on the other end who can't put their social media down, and so they're used to that interaction through media. And so we have this range of students and their abilities and their understanding and comfort level with technology, and then also that comfort level with giving up that personal interaction and being in this isolated or more isolated environment. So I think we have to understand that we have to take them from where they are and we have to move them where we need to be. I know with working with students who are in education, at least a good portion of our students are in practicum sites, or they're in student teaching, or they're even on the job. And so they're getting this transition from both sides. They're getting it from us in their higher education courses, but then they're also getting it during their daily work. And so they're really feeling overwhelmed, some of them, with the consistency of, are we face-to-face day or are we synchronous day, and how all that's coming together, and trying to manage both perspectives of that. So really trying to listen to them and hear where they are and feel what we can do to support them in being more comfortable in this situation. So I have 5 strategies that I'm going to talk about. One of the strategies is creating a tone of community. And these are things that you may already do with introductory videos or messages. Sometimes I send weekly messages. Sometimes they're planned. Sometimes they're just organic. Getting to know you activities, we do these a lot anyway. You can choose getting to know you activities that really support this community engagement in your course. For example, I use one called the PIG personality profile in my assessment courses. Also, I like to think about showing your personality. Help your students hear your voice in your lessons or in the modules that you create, that it's not reading like a research article, that they can hear you talking and they can feel that you're with them through that learning process. I also like to use collegial language. I have my students talk to themselves as their course colleagues, not as students, but build that professional relationship and that professional connection. And Corey talked about the importance of that consistency in routine and understanding the expectations of our community. Facilitating the faculty to student communication, letting them know when you're available, the ways that they can get in touch with you. I also want to talk about accessing those students that I call the quiet ones, the ones that maybe during synchronous sessions or discussion boards, you're not seeing a lot from them, reaching out to them and letting them know how you value their input and how you want to see them more engaged in the process. With regards to reaching out to students and providing a check-in or reinforcement, I came across a PowerPoint slide, one of those design suggestions that you get, and it was a little video of flowers blowing in the wind. And I thought, this is kind of peaceful. And I decided, I'm going to write a little message on this, just a thinking of you and sending you happy thoughts. And I thought, I'm going to put my students' names in them and I'm going to send it out to them. I sent that out to every single one of my students, and I have 84 students right now. It probably took me 10 minutes to save them all, but I cannot tell you, I thought some students would think this was corny and silly, particularly some of my doctoral students. I thought they would think that, but the response that I have gotten back from my students has been humbling. It has been amazing how I've heard from them about how you made my day. I was having a bad day. I really needed this today. Thank you for your support and thinking of me. So something that I thought might be taken in a corny way actually ended up being really meaningful. The students felt, even though I'm sure they know that I sent it to every student, they felt like I was thinking about them. That really was the point I was trying to get across to them. The other things that you can do are use your content related discussions. We always have discussions within our online courses, but thinking about how you can thoughtfully create opportunities for your students to use their strengths and feel comfortable communicating in that environment. You know, when we put information out digitally, it's there, it's not coming back. And so we need to feel a little bit more comfortable about what we're putting out there and ensuring that you're allowing students to provide a variety of ways to respond to different information that you're putting out there, and allowing them to put their individual thoughts out there can create a comfort level. And I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about, and I feel comfortable engaging in this. The other thing I think about my role, sometimes I need to be actively engaged in that discussion and driving that discussion, but there's other times where I need to step back and let the discussion happen on its own without my influence. And so that's another way to provide that community and allow students to engage with each other. Collaborative activities, your learning management system might offer some different ways that you can do collaborative activities. I like the peer review option, using Google Docs or discussion forums, creating wiki pages within your learning management system. All of these things are available to help you have this collaboration amongst your students. And I use Padlet a lot. As I mentioned, the pig personality profile, I actually posted their pigs on Padlet and embedded it in the course. So Padlet does offer you an embed code that you can use to embed it in your course without students having to go outside of your course to add to the discussion. And even we had a guest speaker, and I used a Padlet that I embedded in the course for students to write thank you notes to the guest speaker. And then I sent the guest speaker that link. So again, a way for us to work together to have an outcome for us. Last one of my strategies, Corey did mention this, the students need to connect with each other. And there are ways that we can do that as a faculty. And then there's ways that we can encourage them outside of the work that we do, things that we wouldn't sponsor. Our undergrad students, when they get further in their program, they're in cohorts, and they often will have a cohort Facebook page or some type of messaging system. And we encourage that so that they can collaborate with each other and stay connected. Also, providing different opportunities for socials. I know Corey, as an administrator, he'll do some of these things in our faculty meetings, having time before the meetings to get us all engaged and just share with each other. I'm doing something with a little show and tell before class starts tonight, or even hanging out after class. One of our students played his ukulele for us because they just need that time to get together. I also post another Padlet that I call Good News, where students can post good news that's going on so we can stay connected. The whole idea is doing everything you can to support students feeling included, accepted, supported, and comfortable in that environment, which will hopefully increase their willingness to engage. And I will tell you, it is not easy to do all of these things, and you may be doing some of them, and that is wonderful. I would suggest, if you want to try a new thing, only try one thing at a time, because we do have a lot going on, and we are supporting our students in a variety of ways. And it is difficult to make sure that we're doing all these things for all of the courses that we're teaching.
Just in our last few minutes, I wanted to share a quick framework that I have found to be really helpful in thinking about student engagement. And in fact, it was so cool to see in Corey and Lori's presentation, there were hints of this. But the idea is to be thinking about engagement from three sources, and that is learner to content, learner to instructor, learner to student. In your courses, you want to try to have a good balance of all three of these types of engagement. So learner to content is when your student is just interacting with the content or materials of the course. So maybe it's they have to read something and take an online quiz. Learner to instructor is your interaction as the instructor with the learner. And then learner to learner are when you have your students interact with each other. In terms of best practices, it's really important to have a balance across all of these. And it's also helpful for you if you can have some times where your learners are interacting with the content that you don't have to be right there, then that frees you up. And same thing, if you have them interact with each other, then you're not always the one having to lead the course, because that can also take a lot of your time.